On this Tuesday night, the U.S. president fired up over Israel and Iran.
They don't know what the they're doing.
The fragile ceasefire and what the U.S. bombing of Iran did and did not accomplish. Defense dollars, the tens of billions Canada would have to shell out to meet NATO's new spending targets. One baby girl's bout with measles.
We had to take her to the hospital twice.
Her mother's plea to the public. Plus, a prime event delivered with protests.
One big billionaire can't rent a city for his pleasure.
The backlash over the wedding of Jeff Bezos.
Global National with Donna Friesen.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. It has been an extraordinary 24 hours of foreign policy by social media posts. The U.S. president, already well known for using his Truth Social site to sound off, took it a step further, first announcing a ceasefire had been reached between Israel and Iran, and then, when the attacks didn't stop, President Trump demanded Israel call off the warplanes, posting, "Israel, don't drop those bombs." Israel relies on American weapons and American support, and by this morning, Trump was angry.
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I'd never seen before. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
Trump promised he would be a peacemaker president, and he took a big risk sending U.S. bombers to attack Iranian nuclear sites. If this ceasefire holds, and it appears to be holding now, it will be a win for him and for the region. But Middle East conflicts are never straightforward. We will go to Tel Aviv in just a moment, but we begin in Washington with Jackson Proskow.
Visibly frustrated as he left the White House, President Donald Trump lashed out at both Iran and Israel.
These guys got to calm down. It's ridiculous.
Overnight, Trump's shaky ceasefire appeared to have been shot down just hours after it started. Iran fired missiles just after the deadline, leading Israel to put planes in the air for a retaliatory strike.
I'm not happy with Iran either, but I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that.
Moments later, as Trump boarded Air Force One for the NATO summit, he posted on social media, "Israel, do not drop those bombs. Bring your pilots home." He then phoned Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu from the plane and asked him not to attack. Israel scaled back and only targeted an Iranian radar system. Trump then posted, "Israel is not going to attack Iran. The ceasefire is in effect."
They didn't do anything. They would have if I put out a statement on truth, and they didn't do anything.
Whether the tenuous agreement holds is another matter. Both Iran and Israel have said they won't strike unless the other side does. Trump has suggested the U.S. won't launch any further strikes on Iran, adding he's no longer interested in regime change.
I don't want it. I'd like to see everything calm down as quickly as possible. Regime change takes chaos. And ideally, we don't want to see so much chaos.
It's clear Trump has little appetite for further conflict with Iran. The president claims U.S. strikes fully demolished Iran's nuclear program, even as reports suggest it may have only been set back by a few months. U.S. officials have told the UN their objective to degrade Iran's nuclear capability was fulfilled, even though the fate of Iran's stockpile of enriched uranium remains unclear. Donna.
All right, Jackson in Washington, thank you. Word of that ceasefire came overnight in the Middle East, and people in Israel and Iran woke up wondering if the truce was real. Mike Armstrong is tracking developments from Tel Aviv tonight.
6 different waves of missiles were fired at Israel. All told, the IDF says air defenses shot down 19. This one in the north was intercepted after the ceasefire went into effect. Another made it through just prior. An apartment building in the southern city of Beersheba took a direct hit. 4 people were killed. The blast was so strong, some of the victims died despite sheltering together in a safe room.
I want to express my heartfelt condolences to the families. This is a terrible loss.
The early optimism about the ceasefire quickly turned to nervousness and the question, would it hold?
We don't know. I hope that it will be finished, but we don't know.
The Canadian embassy in Tel Aviv is working out of a downtown hotel organizing shuttles. Several buses are carrying evacuees to Jordan. They'll then fly to Greece and from there fly home. Many, like Montrealer Tamar Bannon, with stories to tell.
Now I know what being scared actually feels like. I don't think I've known fear like this before.
Benjamin Netanyahu is calling the campaign against Iran a historic victory, highlighting the surprise attack that started it all. Now, Iran's president is making the same claim of a historic victory. The war was imposed, he says, and the country showed heroic resistance. But there is no question Iran has been battered. More than 600 people are believed to have been killed. The country's nuclear program has been set back months, if not years, and a part of the weakened government's focus must now be regime survival. The government here in Israel, on the other hand, is set to return to life as normal. The defense minister may be lifting restrictions, allowing schools, businesses, and airports to reopen as early as tomorrow. Donna?
Okay, Mike Armstrong in Tel Aviv, thank you. President Trump has arrived in Europe for that NATO summit, and before he landed, he did something we've never seen another leader do. He posted a screenshot of a private text he received from NATO's Secretary General. Mark Rutte is effusive and fawning. It says in part, Mr. President, dear Donald, congratulations and thank you for your decisive action in Iran. That was truly extraordinary and something no one else dared to do. It makes us all safer. You were flying into another big success in The Hague this evening. It was not easy, but we've got them all signed on to 5%. Europe is going to pay in a big way, as they should, and it will be your win. NATO confirms that text is authentic. It appears NATO's Secretary General is hoping flattery will keep Trump happy. Mackenzie Gray is in The Hague.
All 32 NATO leaders coming together to try and appease the alliance's biggest and most contentious member.
They weren't paying very much. NATO was broke. Then I said, you're going to have to pay, and we did a whole thing, and now they're paying a lot.
And a lot is about to be an understatement, with members set to vote to jack their minimum defense spending up from 2% of GDP to 5% in a bid to keep the U.S. on side.
We are not spending enough as Europeans and Canadians, and they want us to equalize with what the U.S. is spending.
An eye-watering figure for the Prime Minister.
5% of our GDP would be about $150 billion.
I mean, that's a lot.
It's a lot of numbers.
Per year?
Per year.
That's a lot.
Of course, it is a lot. Collectively around the table.
But despite the cost, the Prime Minister confirmed in an interview with CNN that Canada supports the increase.
We're making a commitment, but we're not locking ourselves in. We're not signing a bunch of post-dated checks for the hardware, military hardware of today.
The 5% number has two streams. 3.5% on military hardware like jets and tanks, and 1.5% on defense infrastructure, which can include things like ports and railroads. Canadian officials have told Global News they believe Canada already meets the 1.5% infrastructure commitment, but boosting defense spending will cost Canada at least $47 billion annually, although when that needs to happen by is still being negotiated.
We like to see steps along the way where there can be a re-examination of whether this is the right approach.
Despite getting what he's wanted for years, the U.S. president is now casting a shadow over NATO's bedrock Article 5, which states if a NATO member is attacked, all other members are obligated to come to its defense.
It depends on your definition. There's numerous definitions of Article 5, you know that, right? But I'm committed to being their friends.
The Prime Minister has not outlined a plan for how to pay for these massive increases in defense spending, Donna, but he has warned Canadians that sacrifices will need to be made.
Okay, Mackenzie Gray in The Hague, thank you. It is only the first week of summer and already millions of Canadians are caught in a dangerous heat wave. There are heat warnings across large parts of Ontario, Quebec and Nova Scotia. In Toronto, temperatures today and into tomorrow could feel closer to 45 degrees with the humidity. Montreal will feel closer to 40, and there will be little reprieve from the heat hitting Halifax. The low forecast there tonight is just 18 degrees. Our Jeff Semple is sweating it out in Toronto.
School's out for the day at this Toronto middle school, and not a moment too soon.
We kind of just are in heat constantly at school.
What are you doing to keep cool?
We can't even do anything. I just do this. There's nothing to do.
This school, like the vast majority in the country's largest school board, does not have air conditioning.
It's a tough one, and it's a wish to have full air, but it's extremely expensive. It's millions and millions and millions of dollars. So we have some aging infrastructure. We have older schools.
In Toronto, each school is required to have a designated cooling room, either a basement or another equipped with fans.
Just to show you my plan this afternoon in here.
This principal has been taking the temperature of classrooms and rotating students through their gym cooling room.
Children are more susceptible to the heat for a lot of different reasons. They're running around, they have a higher metabolism, and young children may not be able to say, I'm thirsty, I need something to drink.
We are skipping today because it's too hot. It's way too hot in our school.
So are you going swimming instead?
Yes, we are.
But in Toronto, some pools had long lines, while others were closed because of the heat, to give lifeguards a break, prompting an apology from the mayor. Even some with AC were left steaming after thousands of Ontario homes lost power. Electricity in this Toronto apartment building has been cutting in and out for 3 days. Residents told not to use AC or fans.
I'm living a third world life right now in a first world country. People are suffering.
This heat wave is unusually early, long, and large, stretching from Ontario to Quebec to Atlantic Canada, with little relief overnight.
So these are silent killers. These heat waves, often the deaths occur at night, not during the day, because you can't go to the library at night.
The good news is the extreme heat is expected to break in the next 24 hours, and by Thursday, Donna, we will be seeing unseasonably cold temperatures down in the low 20s.
All right, what a flip. Jeff Semple in Toronto, thanks.
It is crazy humid, crazy hot. I definitely wish that I was by a pool right now.
Nearly 160 million Americans in the eastern U.S. are under heat alerts. Forecasters say the early season heat dome could break records in cities along the East Coast, with temperatures in New York City and Washington expected to rival Death Valley in California. More than 60 high temperature records were set across the U.S. yesterday. Another person has died at a popular swimming spot in Montreal. Barriers were installed at Verdun Beach today to limit access to its no-swim sections. Police recovered the body of a man who went for a swim Monday afternoon. A 20-year-old man died in an apparent drowning at the same beach on June 7th. His body was recovered last week. Measles keeps spreading across Alberta. Coming up, what one baby endured and the message from her mother. Alberta Health Services has issued new warnings about possible measles exposures. Alberta continues to have the highest number of confirmed or probable cases per capita in Canada. The province topped the 1,000 case mark this past weekend. Ontario, another hotspot, has reported nearly 2,200 cases. Cases in both those provinces are nearly triple the number reported in the U.S. this year. Heather Yourex-West spoke with an Alberta mother whose baby was hospitalized because of measles.
It's been a painful few months for Morgan Birch. The 8-month-old Edmonton girl is still recovering from a once-forgotten disease.
I didn't suspect it was measles because I didn't even really think it was a thing anymore.
Once considered eradicated in Canada because of a highly effective vaccine, measles cases are now surging in parts of the country. 4 months at the time of her infection, Kimmy was too young to receive the vaccine.
We had to take her to the hospital twice because her fever was so high that and it wouldn't come down. Just listening to her cry and looking at how swollen she was, I don't ever want any parent to go through that.
I've had a few patients now that are under a year of age coming in with measles, requiring oxygen, having difficulty feeding. Even some older kids that have got measles and they have, for example, seen a couple with diabetes and it's resulted in a diabetic crisis and getting quite sick, actually ending up in ICU from that.
Alberta doctors say the outbreak has put the province's health system under strain. It's why the Alberta Medical Association is now collecting stories from frontline workers about the impact.
There is a belief or amongst a lot of individuals in Alberta that measles is a benign childhood disease, that every child should perhaps get and that it's no big deal.
But for young patients like Kimmy, measles can be life-threatening and come with long-lasting consequences. It's why her mom is calling on everyone to get the vaccine.
It does essentially save kids like Kimmy from a very long and painful road.
Heather Yourex-West, Global News, Calgary.
Alberta's premier will hold public consultations across the province this summer to hear ideas on how to push back against the federal government. Danielle Smith promised in May she'd set up the Alberta Next panel. She will chair it, and it will include 15 other Albertans.
Ottawa has been interfering in every aspect of our provincial jurisdiction in deeper and deeper ways for about a decade now. And we've had enough of it. So I would say that this is trying to reset the relationship to get Ottawa focused on its areas of jurisdiction.
Smith says she wants to hear what Albertans think about ideas like establishing an Alberta pension plan, changes to federal transfer payments, and potential immigration reform. The panel's recommendations will be put to a referendum in 2026. Inflation in Canada is holding steady, raising the possibility of a Bank of Canada interest rate cut next month. Statistics Canada says annual inflation rose by 1.7% in May, the same amount as in April. The agency says a smaller increase in shelter costs, along with a dip in gas prices, helped. But economists say it's a step in the right direction, though inflation needs to drop to increase the odds of an interest rate cut by the central bank. Ahead, why Venetians say there is no space for billionaire Jeff Bezos. That is Canada's Shea Gilgeous-Alexander wrapped in the maple leaf as he shared the Larry O'Brien Trophy with fans during the Oklahoma City Thunder's championship parade. He was named the NBA Finals and the regular season MVP, and he led OKC to its first title. SGA now has one final accolade from the season. Oklahoma City's mayor has declared July 30th as Shea Gilgeous-Alexander Day. Well, the airport in Venice is overrun by private jets. Some of the world's wealthiest and most famous people are arriving for the wedding of Amazon founder Jeff Bezos. He and his fiancée, Lauren Sanchez, have chosen Venice as the backdrop for their nuptials and are spending tens of millions of dollars. A lot of Venetians, though, aren't happy about it. And as Redmond Shannon reports, protests appear to be forcing the couple to alter their plans.
A-listers docking in Venice for America's wedding of the year in Italy's Instagram hotspot. Does anyone object to this most exclusive of unions? You could say that. Far from rolling out the red carpet, Venetians are showing Jeff Bezos a red card.
We think that one big billionaire can't rent a city for his pleasure.
Telling Amazon boss Jeff Bezos and fiancée Lauren Sanchez their marriage money is no good here. And not just because they're taking over parts of an already oversaturated tourist town. The No Space for Bezos campaign objects to the largesse from a man who they say doesn't pay his fair share of tax.
So we are here because we want to stop this injustice society.
The couple splashing cash on their big day, an estimated $50 million US. But that's only equivalent to about 6 hours of profits for Amazon after taxes.
Well, it's nothing if you're running a company that has had revenues of 3.5 trillion over the last 10 years. And you've only paid something like 1% tax on those revenues.
The mayor and some business owners say it's an honour to host an event with a guest list reportedly featuring one Oprah and a sprinkling of Kardashians. But campaigners have now managed to push back against the tide, with one of the planned events forced to relocate. The No Space for Bezos group says it will keep protesting until they tie the knot, even if the actual wedding date is still a prime secret. Redmond Shannon, Global News, London.
New discovery next, the fierce fish that swam off Nova Scotia 350 million years ago. An entirely new species of ancient fish has been discovered from a fossil found in Nova Scotia. It is shedding new light on how fish evolved over millions of years. As Heidi Petrachik explains, there are plenty of fish in the sea, but none quite like this.
Blue Beach is a favorite destination for visitors seeking evidence of evolution.
The fact that you can just come down here and see the past.
Twice a day, the biggest tides in the world come in and out. It erodes and moves rocks around and constantly works to bring up new materials. This is the squishback of the impression of the heel mark.
Local expert Chris Mansky can find a fossilized footprint in a flash here. Now one of his finds is in the Journal of Vertebrate Paleontology, years after his late wife convinced him to investigate one particular spot.
Down here on the shale, down in the woods.
It's where he found a fossilized jaw, 350 million years old, with fearsome fangs.
Very much one of the larger predators.
Conrad Wilson from Carleton used high-tech imaging to determine those chompers were an evolutionary modification never seen before in the species.
So the teeth that are at the front are small, but they're very deeply curved. They're almost doubled over. And then the teeth at the back are much larger, and they're totally straight, and they're very pointy.
Perfect for catching and chewing prey, the meter-long menace swam in what was once a vast freshwater lake. Luckily for swimmers, the powerful predator is now long gone.
So we called it Sphyronathus tyche. The first name, the genus name there, means hammerjaw. And the second name, the species name, refers to the lucky circumstances we had in discovering it.
The fanged fish fossil isn't the first significant find to come from Blue Beach, and it likely won't be the last.
Every animal has a little different design.
Unfazed by the fame of this find, Mansky keeps sharing his know-how with visitors and researchers alike, with plenty of fossils left to find. Heidi Petrachik, Global News, Hansport, Nova Scotia.
And that is Global National for this Tuesday. I'm Donna Friesen. Tonight's Air Canada showcases Calgary's Bow River, Lake St. Andrew, Manitoba, and a garden of lilacs in Moncton, New Brunswick. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you here again tomorrow. Bye-bye.